All right, so we're going to switch gears now. We're going to talk about what I call the Imperial Triangle, US, Israel, and the Gulf states. All right, so this is a picture of Trump with the head of Qatar, I think, like the crown prince or something, or the king,
That's
or
Al Thani. That's the Emir of
Amir.
Qatar.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Hold it right here because you'll get the pronunciation right.
yeah. Pop turn.
So let me just so if you first could just say basically what happened.
So what happened is
Or
simple. There's been negotiations between Israel, United States, and Hamas. And it seems like the United States and Israel used the negotiations to lure out the Hamas negotiators and try to kill them, in a bombing that was unsuccessful. And many of us do not buy the Qatari excuse that they did not know. No, they know. As one of my brothers was sitting there talking about, the Air Force was not patrolling. No one was doing anything. Everything was just right for the bombing.
Mhm.
If anything, it might be that someone in the Qatar may have told the Hamas guys that they're going to bomb you.
I mean, it's like how many times do the US and Israel have to do this before these people realize that they can't be trusted, or they just have to do these negotiations no matter what? I mean, are
Well,
really surprised that Israel got the wink from the US and went and tried to do this?
no, and if you talk to Arabs, like the population, not a single one of them is going to be surprised. Everyone's going to be like, "Yeah, what do you expect? They're dogs."
Let's back up a bit because some people might not know. So, if you could tell us a bit about the Gulf states, how these monarchies came to be established, and why there's some sort of imperial triangle going on between them and Israel.
So, all of the Gulf monarchies were created back in the 1900s after World War One, when the British and whatnot were slowly parsing and breaking up the
Ottoman Empire.
yeah, they're breaking up the Ottoman Empire, creating what the Arabs used to call as joke states. Um,
The Gulf
Iraq,
states
that's what
only,
we
or
used to call them, the joke states, because
Mhm.
you look at them, their territories don't make sense, especially like Iraq and whatnot, and Syria, where they're literally designed so that they'll be fighting over like who owns what and all that. You design these states not to be functional. And the next step was every single one of them was created as a monarchy. Okay. And the monarchs, they all have been loyal from the get go to the West because the West
Mm.
put them in power. Britain, France, gave them the power. Then it was the Americans that stepped in afterwards because after World War II, you started having the rise of Pan-Arabism and you had what was the socialist wave,
Mm.
where the Baathists came into power and started arguing for one continuous state. So, of course, who's going to be against that? The monarchs, because they know that they're going to get thrown out.
Mhm.
What happens is that Israel kind of becomes the greatest friend of the monarchs that they could have because it's the Baathist states, the socialist states, that are largely anti Israel. The Lebanese, when it was a Christian country, it was against the foundation of Israel. Okay. But anyway, the monarchs have always had backdoor dealings and all that with the Israelis.
Mhm.
And moving to 2016, they finally decided it seems that the Palestinians are defeated. Nothing's going to happen. We'll have the Abraham Accords. Okay.
Mhm.
Because at this point, the Ba'athist Party in Iraq are gone. The Egyptians, they're literally ruled by a military junta. There's no real Arab force for Palestine. None.
No
Yemen is
one
like
asked, does the Shia Sunni thing play in at all with that? Because
it
okay,
used to not, but it has slowly. And
it is mainly Shia, yeah, and Hamas, I
yes,
think, is mainly Sunni,
but that
right?
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You
but I'm
have
just thinking. I know that. Well, I don't know, but I know enough to know that that division was flamed,
mhm.
cynically, and there is that division, for example, with Iran and Palestine. But it seems that religious difference doesn't shadow everything between those
No,
groups.
it doesn't. There was more unity about this in the 90s and early 2000s. Now, there is this attempt to break the whole Shia Sunni for, to bring up, though, the Iranians can't be trusted. They're Shia. That's coming from the Wahhabi and Salafis that are being, pushed into the Sunni teachings. This group is causing problems. But for the most part, no, it has never been a Sunni Shia conflict. It has always been both Shia, Sunni, see the Palestinian issue the same way. Even the Sufis as well. Every group in the Islamic fold sees the issue the same, except the Salafis and the Wahhabis.
I don't want to get back into my past too much, but I did spend 2 years in Gaza, 2002, 2004. And so that was when I started to learn quite a bit and always keep tabs on the situation. And I was during the second Intifada, I was a teacher there, the teenagers, they believed that there was going to be this Arab street uprising, there's going to be some sort of shift. And so I lived through that before, or vicariously, obviously, it wasn't going to affect me like it affected them. And so when I was on these chats, I don't know if you were as well, these spaces, and everyone was just like so convinced. Like, look, this is what's going to happen. And Hezbollah's going to come in from this, and Hamas is going to do this, and then Iran's going to come in from this, and then the Arab street is going to rise up in Jordan and Egypt, and it's going to flood Israel, and then this is going to be done like this. And I was thinking,
yeah, they're living fancy.
So my question after that long introduction, is there even such a thing as the quote unquote Arab street? People must know that these joke regimes say one thing to them and are doing something else with Israel and the United States.
Yeah, so the same situation you have in mobilizing your people, deal with your government, is the same situation that they have. Everyone wants to believe that they are part of a group that's super active and is on the cusp of winning the conflict. That is not the case.
The mystical they, yeah.
There's that mystical other. That mystical other is going to just come and win their battle.
Not our Arab street, but that Arab street.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. You also have, with the Palestinian issue, you have a lot of hope that these groups would live up to their word. And, I've said from the beginning, Iran's support of Hezbollah and Hamas comes out of one group's viewpoint that they need this to stave off their own attacks on them. Okay, these proxies were themselves a hedge on these groups, saying, if these groups survive, if these groups exist, Israel will be dealing with them. They won't come and deal with us. But the problem with Iran is that Iran is two-faced in this. It has one group that is willing to fight on this issue, and then another group that wants nothing of it, wants to be, this group would be fine living as pets for white people. And I'm not joking, because I have no respect for them. They do. And I can say this because my background, half my family is Iranian. We're Iranian Arabs, the ones that are on the edge of the Iraq-Iran borders.
Then I apologize. I should have put a map up, but next time I'll have a map ready.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. Half the people wouldn't even be able to read it. So the Iranians have a problem, and they even have a word for it, where it basically translates into Western intoxication. Essentially, I don't know if you know I Am Douglas Kim. I'm going to shout him out. He talks a lot about what they call the WMAF mind virus, the white male, Asian female mind virus, which is about how Asian women hate their own culture. Well, you have that in Iran. You have that in Iran, where you have a large liberal population that literally they want to be white people. And I mean it. They dye their hair blonde. They get their pictures done, and they have their features photoshopped.
Their whitening cream in Iran and Iran. I remember seeing that all over Asia, whitening cream.
My aunt, my cousin, they dyed their hair blonde. And when I saw them, I made the remark, "Oh, I guess we want to be blonde white women today, don't we?" And they were just like, "Oh, what do you have to say? Nothing. You have some pride in what you are." So you have this issue. And it's predictable. Once Israel came a knocking, Iran backed off. That's what happened. Iran backed off. Hezbollah didn't really want to pull the trigger. Nasrallah didn't want to pull the trigger because if there's a real war, it's not just going to be between them and Israel. America's going to come in. And that kind of causes them all to sit there and try to rethink. The only one that honestly stood their ground and said, no, we'll do everything we can was Yemen. That's it.
That's right. Oh, the Yemenis.
Yeah, I keep
Yeah.
saying, if Yemen had a border with Israel, we wouldn't have this because that population would literally just die to end this issue.
Mm.
The men are built differently there. Versus with the rest of the world, I mean, the Arab world, what can you say about them? You have to not know about the Arab history. All the socialists have been either killed
Mm.
or in the process of being killed in Syria. The Communist Party was wiped out in Iraq. You know, whatever exists in the Arab world, it's conservative or it's liberal.
Mhm.
There is no like real leftist, except maybe the Syrian Socialist Party,
Mm.
which again, those groups are small and what can they do?
Just interject for a moment. That's why whenever the US or the UK or the EU are talking about spreading democracy and the democratization in the Middle East, it's so ridiculous because if you look at who they support the opposite. They
Oh,
like
absolutely.
these monarchies. They're gonna cut a good deal because of the oil and whatnot, and will protect you from your people. And you just kind of say some shit about Zionism or whatever, but when push comes to shove, you let us go through your airspace, you give us information, wink, wink, and we'll back you up. We'll make sure you're
Saudi
not
Arabia,
cooed or something.
Saudi Arabia and Bahrain are two examples of this.
Hmm.
Saudi Arabia had a rebellion back in the 70s or 80s, and the response to it was not only did their own forces go to deal with this, but the French sent in special forces. Supposedly they converted. Yeah, whatever. That's nonsense. But anyway, they sent in these forces to kill this rebellion. It doesn't matter if this rebellion was a bunch of hardcore Wahhabis, it still was a rebellion. And what happened? A foreign country sends in its forces to maintain and prop up the monarchy. Then you look at Bahrain. In 2012, 2013, you had, and 2014, you had the whole Bahrain Middle East issue. I might be off on my timeline, but Saudi Arabia had to go in because Bahrain is a country where all your police are like Pakistani and Bangladeshi because the
Okay.
Khalifa family does not see the Sunnis as a trustworthy population because they intermarry with the Shia.
Okay.
And the Khalifa family, the hardcore Wahhabi family, and so they're an offshoot of the Saudis, of the Saudi family. So they're not even from there. They are just, here you go, here's a country for you. And so they basically bar much of their population from any government jobs and fill them with foreigners. So like anyone want to sit there and talk about like what an actual society looks like if your government hates your people? Yeah, you wouldn't even be allowed to be in your own government. They would get people from afar to be in your government so they can easily shoot and kill you. But anyway, they were dealing with these rebellions and it became known as the rooftop rebellions because the people were on the roof screaming their problems. And they eventually brought in the Saudis to beat the shit out of their people and tell them, shut up. So, I mean, and this is the home of one of America's fleets. With America, I don't see anything. Yeah, that's some tough shit, but I guess those Bahraini people learned their lesson. Who gives a fuck about Bahrainis, right?
Yeah.
Their aspirations, who gives a shit?
So to go back to the Qatar thing, and I don't know why it still surprises me. I wonder why the politicians and the pundits, why even bother telling us anything anymore if they're just gonna lie? And lie so obviously, So
You
of
go
course,
through the motions.
so Keir Starmer comes out and he condemns Israeli strike on Doha, and of course, Qatar. I'm sure most of the Gulf states have come out saying, "Oh, this is a bad thing. It's an escalation." And then Ben is like, "You literally sent the RAF, the Royal Air Force, to refuel the Israeli fighter jets that bombed Qatar, mate."
Yeah.
It's like everyone's just lying, and we just like pretend they're lying. We know they're lying. They know that we know that they're lying, but yet they keep on lying, and we keep on. I mean, I don't know where this ends, but it's not just the Gulf states. It's like across the board, just this unrelenting bullshit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what do you think the GWAT was for? The whole global war on terror
Mm,
shaped the Middle East into what it is now.
mm.
The one thing that we had was Iran, and it had an influence in Iraq. But Iran is not willing to fight American people's battle,
Mhm.
is the way I put it.
Did they sign something with the International Atomic Agency again after they spied on them?
Yeah, look, that regime, the reformists,
Needed to get a nuclear weapon like 5 years ago. I mean, build that thing.
see, what I think the Western people have a problem understanding is that a lot of people outside of your borders don't understand how Americans think.
Mm.
They think that you can capitulate and work with them, show, hey, I'm willing to work, willing to compromise. They don't understand that to Americans, especially American imperialists, you wanting to work with them just shows your weakness. So it
It's sort of like
emboldens them to push.
but it's Libya, Syria. I mean, they tell you all the time, and Trump, he'll say whatever he wants to say at the moment. Okay.
You got to talk to liberals in these countries.
Yeah,
They will
but then
blow
you
your
have
mind.
that quote from that guy. For Nixon, he was the Secretary of State. He's that short Jewish guy.
Henry Kissinger?
Oh, Kissinger, yeah.
Yes.
Said, America doesn't have friends and enemies, it has interests. And those change. It's one day and you're the leader of Syria, or you're like the guy who gets to be in charge of Syria and kill people while we sell it off or something.
Unfortunately, people outside the borders with like your liberal population, they kind of act like a person who just got with someone with a history of serial womanizing. You know, he constantly cheats on every partner he has, but don't worry,
I'm different.
but not you. I'm different. That's how they think.
Mhm.
It's just how it is. You can sit here and show, well, look what they did in Libya. Gaddafi was a problem. He didn't play ball, blah, blah, blah. You know the game. All right. Well, you know what? You just need to learn firsthand. I'm negative when it comes to the whole like Palestinian conflict. I expect a successful genocide. I'll
Mm.
state that right now.
I mean, it's already been one, really. It's
People
what,
always
like
love.
not 80% destroyed?
Yeah,
I mean,
the 60,000 deaths is bullshit. It's at least 500,000. You can't
Mhm.
bomb people so much and only so little have died.
Well, yeah,
Bullshit.
and the food and the
You,
water and the medicine and all that.
and once
Yeah.
they're done with Gaza, West Bank is next.
Well, and then I think Greater Israel is in play. They have not backed down from that.
That's going to be where things get interesting because then they've got to go and mess with American allies. I can see them slowly eating into Syria. They'll be completely allowed to do that. If they try to go into Saudi Arabia and Jordan, that's when you get a problem where the monarchs see that their heads are now on the chopping block
Maybe.
too. No, they'll see.
Maybe Netanyahu is the guy that has to do all the really, really dirty work, his regime and this generation. And then someone else will come be like, look, okay, we're going to have our niche core Israel, and that's us, baby. But, you can be part of Greater Israel. They need their caucuses or whatever and enough Jews to populate Greater Israel.
No, there's not. See, what I'm always surprised of is that Saudi Arabia should technically be the crown jewel of America's foreign policy. When you look at the relations of, United States and the Middle East, what nation is the linchpin to America's dollar hegemony? It's Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
It's them. And that's the one thing I think they will be able to
Mhm.
play throughout if Israel comes at them as well. United States, you do this, and we'll just back China.
But
If
then
you
they could take, I mean, the United States could take over Saudi Arabia a lot
Yeah.
easier than they could Iraq. I mean, I'm speaking out my butt here, but
Well-
I'm assuming these monarchies would be easier.
Not necessarily like, okay, Kuwait, for example. How are you going to throw out the Emir of Kuwait or the Princess of Kuwait? They buy their people. If you want to get capitalism to work, if the Western elites followed their model, no one here would be complaining because they subsidize their people. These are all finance countries, okay? Yes, they have oil, but they work by also, stealing the capital of everyone else in the area.
Mhm.
So they're not in any threat because the Arab leaders have bought them. UAE, Qatar. Well, Saudi Arabia's only real weakness is the Shia population. And they oppress them. The rest of them, they might say they're unhappy and whatnot, but most people in those countries are defeated. The Saudi Arabians, the princes, though, the thing that I have to press upon people is the monarchs are very mercenary in their mentality.
Mm.
Okay. They are your friend today, but tomorrow they're the ones flipping you off, asking you, what are you going to do about it? And you can see that they don't join in on like the anti-China. They keep balancing their relations, right?
Mm-hmm.
They give America everything it wants with Israel because America's going to reward them for that. But they'll give China and Russia whatever they want as long as they think these people can protect them. When you see greater Israel, you'll start to see some problems. Whether it is what people wish it will be, it will not be at all. It isn't even a question. As I said, it won't be. You're just going to have to deal with the fact that the monarchs are this mercenary force that will give the West anything they want right now. And yeah, as Jal Jushai says, bribing Trump with $400 million luxury Boeing 747 just to get bombed months later by his handlers. Yeah,
Yes, they were.
he's absolutely right.
They'll be like, what are you going to do about it?
Right. But the thing he has to remember is the emir doesn't have to worry about his population. The average Qatari makes $100,000 a year because that's a slave state, and it brings in a whole bunch of labor from India, Pakistan to labor for them. So, Philippine handmaidens, for God's sakes. The population ain't going to care. Oh, bomb the Hamas. That's so terrible. We bleed for them. How could this happen? Okay, what's my monthly stipend? Oh, I'm getting off of work around 2:00. Fuck all y'all. I mean, you talk about people with some benefits. They live better than any American. And whatever you think about them, they can sit there and be like, you're poor. Shut up and leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, now they're having the Riyadh Comedy Festival. That's not in Qatar, of course. Some people are upset, and I get that, but I'm like, they're comedians who are being paid to go and do an act at a comedy festival. But I'm curious what their acts will be and who the audience will be.
They will be sanitized. They will do nothing controversial or say anything bad about the monarchy. They will talk about America and Israel. The comedy will all talk about how horrible Israel. Yes, Saudi Arabia is liberalizing.
That crown prince, he must like his Netflix and chill, yeah? But where we have a comedy festival. I want to get these guys, and all of them are going. Chappelle, Hart, Louis C.K. There's also Bill Burr. Joy Coy, lots of people, big names going.
People's idea of Saudi Arabia is not what it is today. There are videos that mock, Saudis sitting there at their fake bars drinking non-alcoholic beer like a bunch of dumbass.
There's partying going on there, yeah.
Oh man, Saudi Arabians, they come to America. The men come to America, and even the women. They come to America. What's the first thing they do? They drink.
Yeah.
They drink. They party. They are the biggest bunch of degenerates you ever meet. And then they go back to Saudi Arabia as pious little boys and girls.
Anyway, we'll wrap up. Do you want to read this for us?
Qatari regime are the dogs of American international capital, and Qatar is an American outpost in the Persian Gulf. There's no reason why Israel would do this on their own without their approval. Absolutely right. There's no region on the as evil as the Gulf kingdoms. They're Israel's greatest blessing, far more evil than Israel. Unlike Israel, these parasite American statelet outposts suck the Middle East dry of its national capital and have thoroughly rotted the minds of Sunni world through Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya, convincing them their kingdoms are good. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman are each and every single one dogs, some more so than others, but anyhow. He's absolutely right.
They invest all around the world, city of London and Wall Street. That money is circulating around, just not within the local economies there. And again, like you mentioned, these real oil states, there's certain I guess in Saudi, there's certain groups that get the stipend and live high off the hog. And then I've heard that like manual labor is almost unheard of, that they have to bring in people to do all the manual labor and domestic labor.
So these countries actually achieve bourgeois socialism, whereas the West is still suffering with it. No, seriously, they might be monarchies, but they have the vision of what we talk about. They are societies with very little labor. All of it is the intellectual capital. That's what they've been moving towards. You go and look at Qatar, you look
That's right,
at
all they
the
do.
service jobs, they use their oil funds to service their economy, but it is the productive labor being used to enrich the service side.
Mm,
That's all of the Qatari and monarch economies. They're financialized.
mm, mm,
So, this is the world that many of the DSA and all that want. They just don't want the monarchy part. They want a president. Well, you can get
mm.
that. You just rename the dude. Hey, you're a president. There you go.
Yeah.
We can have election. You know, have
Yeah.
elections with each other. Oh, now my brother, he's going to be the new king.
Mhm.
After he dies, his
Mhm.
brother will be president.
Oh, goodness. Well, listen, thank you very much. This has been very informative. So this has been Morbid Symptoms, and I'm your host, Tara Van Dyke, and that was Nassim. We talked about the Imperial Triangle, U.S., Israel, and the Gulf states, and Nassim gave us some information about the Gulf states and why in the region they're called joke states and dogs and fairly mercenary. And if we're looking for them to be any kind of bulwark against imperialism in West Asia, we best adjust our thinking. We have to disabuse ourselves of that notion. Anyway, please do like and subscribe. If you'd like to come on the show, let me know. If you have an idea for a topic, interview, book review, whatever, let me know. My plan is to focus on this as much as I can. So I'm going to do the outro, and it gives you information about where you can follow and subscribe. But yeah, everyone take care, keep hope alive, and, workers of the world unite, all that good stuff.